In the early days of World War II, the fate of Europe did not depend only on tanks or bombers, it depended on ships. Across the freezing waters of the Atlantic Ocean, thousands of cargo vessels carried food, fuel, ammunition, and soldiers. Without these supplies, Britain would starve, armies would collapse, and Nazi Germany could dominate Europe. Hidden beneath the waves, a silent predator waited. German U-boats hunted these convoys relentlessly, turning the Atlantic into one of the deadliest battlefields of the war. This was not a battle fought in days or weeks. It lasted nearly 6 years. It became the longest continuous campaign of World War II, and at the center of it stood a nation many underestimated. When war broke out in 1939, Britain faced a dire challenge. Its survival depended on more than soldiers or tanks. It relied on the steady flow of supplies from across the Atlantic. Food came from North America, oil arrived from abroad, and every day troops and weapons crossed thousands of miles of treacherous ocean. If Germany could sever these vital supply lines, Britain would be forced into surrender. Armies could collapse, cities could run out of fuel and food, entire nations could fall. The Atlantic Ocean was more than a body of water, it was the lifeline of the Allied war effort. But the Atlantic was vast, cold, and unforgiving. Storms raged without warning, waves towered like mountains, and icebergs drifted silently, hidden dangers in the fog. And lurking beneath the surface were the deadly German U-boats, silent predators waiting for the right moment to strike. The German strategy was brutally simple: starve Britain into submission. They deployed submarines in coordinated wolf packs, attacking convoys relentlessly. Cargo ships burned, sailors fought for their lives, and the ocean became one of the deadliest battlefields of the war. Every convoy that sailed across these waters was a fight for survival. The fate of nations rested on courage, skill, and endurance in the cold, unforgiving Atlantic. This was a battle that would shape the course of World War II, and at the heart of it, the survival of Britain hung in the balance. German submarines, known as U-boats, were among the deadliest weapons of World War II. Silent and stealthy, they prowled beneath the waves, surfacing only to strike. At night, they melted into the darkness, invisible to the eyes of convoy escorts. With deadly precision, they fired torpedoes and vanished before the Allies could respond. Cargo ships burned. Sailors fought the icy waters, often with little hope of rescue. The Atlantic was becoming a battlefield unlike any other. Admiral Karl Dönitz perfected a strategy known as the wolf pack tactic. Multiple U-boats would converge on a single convoy, overwhelming the defenses with coordinated attacks. Each strike was calculated, terrifying, and devastating. Ships sank by the hundreds, entire convoys were destroyed. Sailors froze in the unforgiving Atlantic, clinging to debris, praying for rescue that often never came. The human cost was staggering. By 1942, the situation had become catastrophic. The Allies were losing hundreds of ships every month. The Atlantic, once a lifeline, was rapidly turning into a graveyard. And yet, amidst the terror and destruction, the courage and resilience of sailors persisted. Every convoy that survived became a symbol of hope and a small step toward regaining control of the seas. When war began, Canada's navy was small, only a handful of ships. It was modest, but geography would give Canada a crucial role in the fight against the Axis powers. The eastern ports, like Halifax and St. John's, became lifelines for Allied convoys. These ports were the launching points for supplies, troops, and weapons heading across the Atlantic. Canada responded with urgency. Shipyards worked day and night, building escort vessels at astonishing speed. Factories churned out ships, while thousands of young Canadians volunteered for service, eager to defend the ocean supply lines. Every new ship, every trained sailor strengthened Canada's naval power. The transformation was rapid, driven by necessity, determination, and national pride. By the end of the war, Canada possessed the third-largest navy in the world. From humble beginnings, the nation had risen to become a crucial force in the Allied effort. And all of this remarkable change happened in just a few short years, shaping the outcome of the Atlantic War. The solution to the deadly U-boat threat was organization. Instead of sending ships alone into the Atlantic, the Allies grouped them into convoys protected by escort vessels. Destroyers and corvettes sailed alongside cargo ships, forming a shield against the hidden menace below. These escorts were the lifeline of the Atlantic, guarding the supplies that kept nations alive. Canadian-built Flower-class corvettes became symbols of resilience. Small but sturdy, they navigated brutal North Atlantic storms, braving freezing waves to shepherd the convoys safely. Life aboard these ships was harsh. Seasickness, icy winds, and constant fear were everyday companions. Sailors slept in wet clothes, damp and cold, listening for the faint ping of sonar, the only warning that a U-boat might be lurking below. Each convoy was a tense journey. Every lookout, every sonar operator, every sailor's courage counted. Survival depended on skill, vigilance, and unbroken teamwork. And yet, despite the hardships, these small ships and brave crews ensured that vital supplies reached Britain, keeping the fight against the Axis alive. Technology began to shift the balance. Radar improved detection. Sonar became more accurate. Long-range aircraft closed the air gap in the mid-Atlantic. Code breakers intercepted German communications. Escort carriers provided air cover in open ocean. By 1943, U-boat losses mounted. German submarines were being destroyed faster than they could be replaced. The hunters were becoming the hunted. By 1944, Allied convoys crossed the Atlantic with increasing security. Supplies flowed steadily to Britain. These supplies made possible the invasion of Normandy, the liberation of Western Europe, sustained Allied offensives. Without Atlantic control, D-Day would not have happened. The Battle of the Atlantic did not end with a single dramatic victory. It ended gradually through endurance, sacrifice, and coordination. Over 36,000 Allied sailors lost their lives in the Battle of the Atlantic. They were merchant seamen, naval officers, engineers, signalmen, ordinary people placed in extraordinary danger. Canada alone sacrificed thousands of brave naval personnel, young men who had barely seen the world beyond their hometowns, now facing freezing oceans and silent enemies beneath the waves. Many never returned home. There were no grand battlefields, no dramatic final charges, only cold water, steel ships, and the endless horizon. When ships were struck, the Atlantic did not pause. It swallowed vessels quietly, without ceremony. Families waited for letters that never came. Harbors waited for ships that would never dock again. Yet their sacrifice was not in vain. Because of them, supply lines remained open. The Battle of the Atlantic was not glamorous. It had no single decisive moment. It was fought in storms and darkness, in cold steel corridors of ships, in silence beneath the waves. It was a battle of endurance. And Canada, a nation once overlooked, rose to meet the challenge. By protecting the Atlantic lifeline, Canada helped secure Allied victory. The war was won on beaches and battlefields, but first, it was sustained at sea.